How would you feel if you'd worked really hard on one of your pieces, thought you'd got it just about right, and then your teacher said, "Well, that was boring"? That's exactly what happened to Patrick, but I'm going to let Patrick introduce himself. That's coming up next.
Music Online UK.
Okay, my name is Patrick Wells, and I started my lessons when I was 4 years old. And then later on, as I got older, I was introduced to this piano teacher from England. I loved music so much, I loved it so well, I decided to become a professional musician. And so she guided me in the right place by having me study more of the basics of music, including fundamentals, solfeggio, sight reading.
Okay, but you told me in one of the comments actually below one of my videos on the channel, a special story that happened to you as a music student. I wonder if you could relate that to our audience and our watchers.
Well, yes, when I was studying, I was playing a Haydn piano sonata for my teacher, and he liked what I played. He said it was fine, it was good, it was precise, concise, to the point, it was clean, played fluently, and ended nominally, and he said it was very boring.
Boring?
Boring, yes.
Yes, and how did that make you feel?
Oh, that made me feel terrible. I was surprised. I looked at him and I said, what do you mean boring? And he goes, well, you know, you're going to have to understand that when you play the music, it's not just playing the notes. You have to play the music. Look at the music and see what's there. And then come back and play it for me again. And I was dumbfounded. I thought I did everything right. I thought that everything was up to par, up to speed. It was fine. There were no mistakes.
Sorry. Did you understand at the beginning what he meant by play the music and not the notes?
No, I didn't. Not at first.
So how did you overcome that particular enigma? Let's put it that way.
Okay. Well, when he handed me my books and I left and went on my way, I played it again for one of my friends and he could find nothing wrong with it. And then I played it for another teacher and he could find nothing wrong with it either. And so I began to reflect on what he said. And then later on, I began to reflect on some of the things that I'd learned before that I thought maybe were missing. And so I decided, well, if I'm to give it a good musical performance, then maybe I just better go back and learn what I had done before to make that musical performance come about. So I went back, I studied, well, not studied, but remembered all the lessons I had in solfeggio. I began to take the lessons from the very beginning and start over again. And then I realized that what I had felt before had come back. And that feeling of completeness that I'd never really felt in just playing a note. And I mean, looking at a note and playing a key.
Okay, now one of the things in the British exam system is that part of a piano exam is to also do oral tests. And a lot of students will say, why do I need oral tests? I'm playing the piano. What do you think about that?
Well, I think they need to understand that taking the oral test is not so much part of playing the piano, but it's part of your education as a musician.
Right.
In order to play pieces like that, it's not just being a piano player, you have to be a musician.
Okay, so do you think having oral skills helps you be a better pianist?
Absolutely. You internalize what you learn, you'll absorb and understand and feel better for the music than you ever would have by just looking at a note and playing a key.
So what do you mean by internalize? Because maybe some people don't really understand your definition of that word, internalize.
Well, in the dictionary, internalizing means to be absorbed, to where that thing that you absorbed now becomes a part of you.
Right. Now, I was thinking earlier about the analogy of a Formula One driver and how he and his car become one, man and machine. Do you think that
Yeah,
analogy applies to being a musician with your instrument?
absolutely. In any career, anybody who studies to be a doctor or a lawyer or a dentist or any of the trade professions, when they learn their craft, it becomes a part of them.
Right.
In the same way with learning any musical instrument, whether it be a piano, cello, singing, that musical instrument becomes a part of you. Internalizing the music, it means that it's absorbed inside of you and now becomes a part of you.
And you were telling me earlier about an anecdote you heard about Toscanini, was it? Maybe you could
Yes.
relate that to our listeners.
When he was a young boy in the Parma Conservatory, one of the things he did during his study period is that he would take all the opera scores at the time and he would literally write them down on a piece of manuscript paper, note
You
for
mean
note,
from memory?
from memory. His
That
memory,
is amazing.
his memory was amazing. Whenever he would conduct a rehearsal and someone played a wrong note, he instantly knew who played the wrong note.
It's pretty amazing, isn't it?
It's absolutely, it leaves me dumbfounded. I just can't understand how anyone could do that.
So for an aspiring music student who wants to become a better musician, what would your one piece of advice be?
I tell them to divide their practice time into playing their pieces, and then the other half, it's actually divided into 3 other parts. And what I tell my students is that you work on your fundamentals, your sight reading, your sight singing, pitch identification. And the other part now is to copy down all the notes in the pieces you're playing for the recital, all of them.
From memory.
From memory. And what they write down is what we use as practice material. Instead of bringing the books, they bring what they had written down.
That is a very interesting piece of advice. So you're saying, so for students to be better musicians, they should be able to write down from memory the pieces they're playing.
Exactly.
That is a challenge for many people watching this. We'll see who's up for that. Well, thank you very much for your time, Patrick, and
You're welcome.
Wish you success with your students, and it's been lovely speaking to you.
Thank you too, Robert.